afternoon. It is a pleasure to be here today and to discuss topics that are related to artists' residencies and also artists in residencies. And we as a VV Foundation are happy to be here today in the Nordic Council of Ministers office in Latvia, because with their great support, we can also invite all these artists to work in PAiR residency in Pāvilosta. And so I would like to invite the director, Mr. Stefan Eriksson, the director of Nordic Council of Ministers office in Latvia, to open this conversation.
Thank you. I will do my best. It's a really great honor for me to open this event and for us, first of all, to host this event. There is a culture mobility program that aims to promote Nordic and Baltic culture contacts. And PAiR Residency has been a recipient of this program, as have also other organizations in Latvia. But we're glad to host this conversation arranged by PAiR. So let the conversation start.
Thank you very much. And we hope that you will continue to support artist residencies. Thank you. And today we will particularly discuss independent creative residency in Latvia called PAiR, and it is founded by VV Foundation. So before I introduce you with our wonderful panelists, I would like to invite the founder of VV Foundation, Vita Liberte, to talk about PAiR residency and its development. Please.
Thank you, Lena. Thank you, first of all, Stefan, Eva, and Nordic Council of Ministers for hosting us today and for supporting us so we are able to sustain our residency. I'll just tell a few words about the residency before we move into a nice and cozy discussion. Residency is one of the recent endeavors of our foundation called VV Foundation. We started it about 5 years ago, me, Vilnis, and a good friend of Stefan, an art historian, Jānis Borgs. The prime reason of establishing foundation was to support young and emerging Latvian and Baltic artists. But by doing so, we actually found that the interaction with artists and the process of creation is something that me, Vilnis, and Jānis appreciate the most. And that's why about 3 years ago, we started the so-called pilot project in Pāvilosta. Pāvilosta is a small fishing port on the west coast of Latvia, about 3 hours drive from Riga. It's actually a second residence for me and Vilnis. We live there half our time. We love the place, and we thought, why not invite artists and see if it works? So I invited like a bunch of artists from all over. They came, they loved it, and we saw it really working. And since then, we've been just investing a lot of resources and energy and love into this residency. We found a building in the very center of the fishing village. Like you see in a picture, it's a building built in 1901. We totally refurbished it last year. And like I said, it's a very recent project. We only had 2 open calls so far. And basically, we would like to see our residency based on 3 values. First of all, like I said, it's 3 hours drive from Riga. It's a very rural place, as opposed to residencies I just visited. I'm 2 hours since I came back from New York, so I saw a lot of residencies in New York, and our residency is totally different. It's based in a rural area, quiet area, so we think that that's a so-enabling place, first of all. I hope that residency participants will agree with me. The second value that we base our residency on is the cooperation between people. We see our residency as a multidisciplinary place, so we would like to invite not only artists, but people from different disciplines. So they mingle and exchange and hopefully, and kind of change or develop their ideas. And the third thing is tradition. We believe in a tradition, and that by valuing the tradition and bringing over to today, we can actually bring value. We have a weaver studio placed in the residency where local weaving ladies are working and mingling with the residents as well, and I understand that you're also learning from them. What else? Just like a few technical details for those who have not been in residency, but hopefully will come soon and see it by yourselves. Like I said, the residency is located in the older building, built in 1901. We have totally refurbished it. We have living spaces, 5 of them located on the 2nd floor. All of the rooms are furnished as the amenities. And on the 1st floor, we have 2 studios. We have library, dining room, and the kitchen. There's also a garden. It's in the making. We started doing it last summer, but we believe that it's a big part of our residency as well, and we hope that the residents will interact with it once we see it again growing, and we are building also like a common greenhouse there. We believe that interacting with the community is a big part of our residency. We have a special public place or public space in residency, a gallery space, which can be used both by residents and by artists. So far we have shown works from our collection, but we'll be opening a new show dedicated to textile. So everybody's invited. And the main focus of this exhibition is really interaction with the local community. Yes, we plan to do about 3 to 4 open calls every year. The first, like I said, we only had 2 open calls so far, and we've done them together with the curator from Finland by the name of Joa Laia. The first resident stayed with us for 2 months, and now the discussion that you will all follow will be with the second open call residents. One of them, unfortunately, is missing because of the health reasons. I think I can now give word to Lina, who will be moderating discussion further. Thank you.
Thank you, Vita. Thank you, Vita. Thank you for your great support regarding PAiR residency, and of course, with the great support of Nordic Culture Point, the current PAiR residents have been working on their new projects that are dedicated to researching Pāvilosta's surroundings and its cultural natural phenomena. So today we will discuss the artistic research process that is actually happening now in Pāvilosta with our great residents. So the first one here to my right is Sille Kima. Sille is from Estonia. Hello.
Hello.
Then we have Sabine Schnee. Sabine is from Latvia.
Hello.
And then we have Rasmus Mairup there, and Rasmus is from Denmark.
Sveiki.
Sveiki. My name is Lina Birzaka-Priekule, and I will be moderator of this discussion or more conversation about your artistic practice and experience regarding residencies. So my first question is also maybe rather simplistic, basic, but what is important for each of you when you look up residencies where you want to go? What are you searching for? Because we know that there are a lot of possibilities, all kinds of residencies. So maybe what is important for you? Sille, maybe you can start.
Yeah. So far, what I have been looking for, or what has turned out, is that I look for remoteness. Though there are, of course, like many residencies in the cities as well. But besides that, I think it's very important for me to have like freedom to be really myself, And so there is like a safe space created around this community, within this community, that I feel like just I can let myself go in this like short time frame in this new place, and just melt into whatever I'm doing.
You mentioned this remote residency type, and of course it's one of a kind. One of also our PAiR residency is rather remote residency located in a very small city. What are advantages you see in this remote residency type?
Well, I mean, it's actually an advantage and also a disadvantage, because it's like, it's kind of like, I mean, you put yourself into isolation in a way. So like, I kind of like to call this process like benevolent boredom. You have to like kind of like let go through these like layers of like, what am I doing here? Where I am? What is this place? Okay, maybe I'm here. And then like, okay, you're kind of like lost in a good way and maybe come out on the other side. So it's always kind of like a being on the edge type of process. But that's the advantage also of it, because from boredom, or that kind of, if we want to call it boredom, usually creativity starts, for me at least.
Sabine, what you are looking for when you are searching residencies you want to go to?
Yeah, I was just, after a very busy summer, I was looking for a calm and peaceful place where to be, where to create works. And yeah, VV Foundation announced an open call, and I decided to apply. And I think, yeah, the hook for me was this, you know, small village next to the sea, lots of forests around, so this very calm, peaceful environment.
One would also say that Riga is actually a rather remote place regarding...
Well, in a way it is, yeah, in a way it is, yeah, but still it's not that countryside vibes.
Okay. So, and Rasmus, you have actually more experience with residencies. So, yeah, what you are,
yeah, I've tried a lot of very different residencies. I think the word residency is a bit like the word artist, that it means as many different things as there are instances that use it. So every artist can define exactly what they want to be, and every residency can also sort of define completely themselves. That's also why it's always a bit of a risk in a way as an artist when you sort of either apply for or granted a residency, because you don't really know what it entails. Sometimes the description doesn't match the actual thing, but in terms of this question of what I might be looking for, and also if I can speak on behalf of some other colleagues of mine, I think a really great thing is to be in a residency that understands that there is a time before the residency and a time after the residency, and that period, whether it be 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years, is sort of part of a larger artistic process, and that there might be certain things that still need to be taken care of that sort of are picking up on things that happened earlier, like you still have your running deadlines or other things that sort of can interfere with the programming in a way. And at the same time, everything you do at that residency will not immediately have a sort of effect or a meaning or a product that can be presented by the end and say like, I have made this. And it will always have like a long tail after it. And that's again like I think an important thing to understand, both as an artist entering a residency, but also as a residency hosting artist, that there is this sort of long-lasting effect if it's, you know, done in a good way. It can be a really, really great sort of present to the artist, that it can set a lot of little boats into the little paper boats into the stream and sort of see where it goes, and that it doesn't result in something specific.
So I hear from you very, very important thing that you actually mentioned, maybe if I can sum it up, that art residencies should not aim for a fixed goal, maybe. Or what do you think about that?
I think that's totally up to them, but if they do, they should be extremely upfront about it. And be very clear, which I think is always the best in any case, right? Be very clear about your intentions and your hopes for anything. I've been very fortunate to have some very nice experiences where people have been very clear about what it was, what residency it was I was going to, and that was exactly kind of what was on the box. But as I said, like, you never really know. And I think it's nice to, personally, I prefer a residency that focuses more on sort of research and freedom and independence rather than production and like deadlines or sort of specific goals.
Mm-hmm. And you may not see like this fixed goal, but actually it's very, very important during your, and maybe also outcome. We can see it only after 3 or 4 or 5 years, and actually the idea started to develop there in the residency. Yeah, but you already started to talk about your experience actually working in residency. Still, maybe you can continue. What are advantages and maybe also limitations you had to cope with during your residency periods? Yeah. Not particularly maybe here in PAiR, because we will talk about PAiR later, but before, your experience before PAiR.
Yeah, well, I briefly mentioned it already, like the same thing, that it's being alone and being like taken out of your habitual framework and habitual world and like kind of placed randomly somewhere. And then you have this like wonderful possibility of just like starting to like put threads in different directions and see what happens. But this process is, of course, like something that is not so easy always. And it's kind of, I mean, it's a process of self-development, basically. So, yeah, I think still I come back to this. This is...
But yeah, maybe where have you been before? Maybe you can...
Yeah, well, I have also been to... just recently now, in September and October, I spent 2 months in Finland, in northern Finland, in Mustarin, the residency, which was a fantastic place, really. And I mean, that place is like much more isolated than also Pāvilosta.
More than Pāvilosta?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine.
Yeah, but it's like really next to an old growth forest. It's like we go shopping once a week, like to the village that is 20 kilometers away. And this creates like a kind of a mindset of like, first you're like, okay, I come from a city, I have these cravings and, you know, just like very everyday things. And what do I need? But you start becoming like very mindful of what do you actually need, what you don't really need that much, and, you know, what you can actually get from the environment around you, or like how can you collaborate with the environment around you. And I think this applies also to Pāvilosta and actually to any residency, even in a big city, I guess, which would be curious to see.
You haven't been in one, yes?
No, like, no. Yeah.
Have you been, Rasmus, in a big city residency?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be a resident at the Cité des Arts in Montmartre. They have 2 departments, in Paris. And they have 2 departments, one by the river and one up in Montmartre. And I had a place there for a year. I think it was like 11 months.
It's a long period.
But yeah, it was very, very nice.
So maybe you can compare those 2 experiences when you're going to this very urban, busy city and the one that is more remote.
Yeah, that aspect was of course very important, but I think also a different aspect is that was basically everyone was there long term. I was there the shortest out of everybody. People were mostly there for up to 2 years.
Oh, so
it's very different than, for instance, what we're doing in Pāvilosta now, which is this kind of intense, shorter period. So it was more almost like offering affordable accommodation in a city that does not really allow for its artist population to thrive that much in certain ways, and then in other ways it's the center of a lot of different parts of the art world. So it was a way to sort of bring artists that, like me, who probably might not have been able to afford staying in Paris otherwise, the opportunity to be close to the things that we were interested in, which centered around Paris. Whereas a place here like Pāvilosta is more, I would think, I would say it's more almost like a kind of experience that we, as you said, we are sort of put here to have a certain experience where the place and the location, even the culture or the country has like a larger sort of impact on it, and it's also that also makes it a little more kind of a compact experience in a way. Yeah.
But can I ask you an unpolite question? Maybe what was your outcome from this residency in Paris after 1 year?
I'm feeling very self-conscious about all this being recorded, but it was just to be very anecdotal about it. It was immediately after I had graduated from art school in Denmark that I was able to pay only 500 euros a month to be at this residency in Paris. So the rent was even lower than it would have been for me in Copenhagen. And to stay for 1 year in the center of Paris for 500 euros a month was like it made an immense difference in my life and my career as well. So I can't say like, oh, I did this project, because I did so many different things in 11 months, you know. But it was around the times that I was kind of starting out as a professional artist or continuing on the other side of education, and it helped me out immensely, and was a huge. It was also supported by the Danish Art Foundation, I should say. Okay, so it made a huge difference at a very vital point in my early sort of, I mean, I'm still in my early career, hopefully. But it made a huge, huge difference.
So you would also say that it's very important for an emerging artist to have this immediate residency experience after graduating?
Oh, it's very difficult. I mean, well, you just graduated, no?
Sabine, what do you think?
I think it is, but I also think it really depends on the person. Yeah, I think it's actually amazing setting where to be. You just are, as Silas said, you are pulled out of your comfort zone and from your everyday life, and then you just somehow are put in this new environment, and together with other people who are mostly new people for you, and you have this opportunity to exchange ideas, opinions. There are so many new things happening around you, new inspirational sources, everything, and yeah, I think it kind of gives fresh perspective. Because yeah, I think in the art school it's very closed environment in a way, so I think it's always nice to get out and see what's happening in the world and what other people are thinking and doing.
Course, our context here also is different, because we are actually a very small nation, a little art bubble that we are living here. So it's also very, very important to get out as fast as you can.
Exactly.
But to come back also, but to get out. Yeah, maybe Sabine, you can continue. What advantages do you particularly see while working in Pāvilosta, in PAiR residency?
Well, first of all, I have to say library. I absolutely love it, and actually one of the books which I found there became inspiration for, I think, upcoming art projects. So I'm absolutely excited about that. And yeah, I think this very, as I was mentioning before, calm environment. We have sea, literally 5 minutes away. We are surrounded by forests. Landscapes are beautiful. Nature is amazing. City or village, depends how we call it. It's empty, but in the PAiR residency we have a weaving room where local weavers can come, and they do that. And also I think the conversations with them are extremely nice and sweet. I feel like I have like 5 new grandmothers. And I think, yeah, it's just really nice place where to be, and a quiet one, but very peaceful. And I think that's what I need, and that's what I got there.
I think you also touched upon a very important fact that also Vita mentioned, that this collaboration, first of all, with surroundings of Pāvilosta, with environment, and also with the community. And we know that those community-based artist residencies are different kind of also residencies. And how do you see how your practice and how your work in Pāvilosta Artist in Residency can collaborate with this local community, and do you see how to work with them together?
Well, for me, but it's only for me, the local community, I found it quite small. And I think it's like, those 5 weavers and that's it. But yeah, for me, they're just really, in a way, also a great source of inspiration, because the conversations which we're having, they have completely different perspective and lifestyle than I do. And I think it's, in a way, educating. And but I'm not quite sure how I can interact with them. Mm-hmm. It's more like they are giving me something and I'm just taking it and doing something with that further.
Yeah, and others? How do you see this connection with the local community?
I mean, I think it just bears saying that we are in like a pandemic, and that we also are in the depth of winter. So it has been extremely limited, at least how much I have been able to interact with other people, because...
and also we don't speak...
Latvian, yeah. I can say Sveiki.
It's a problem, language barrier could be a problem. But I'm asking you that because actually we saw within VV Foundation that also the first cycle of residents, they actually collaborated with those weavers and they used this weaving studios. So I'm actually moving towards to speak more about your practice and what you are doing now in PAiR Residency, and how also this nature-human aspect that João also described in his open call together with the VV Foundation correspond to your current projects. And maybe we can now also have a little sneak peek into your current projects. What would you say?
I do actually, sorry, I kind of forgot that I interacted with the quote-unquote local people in PAiR, which is not in Pāvilosta, but you know, I don't know about politics, but I think that's almost the same. I'm afraid to say something insensitive, but I went to the Craftsman's Museum, I think, or Craftsman's House there. And I found a very spirited and amazing guide who gave me a 2.5-hour tour where I met everybody, and she spoke wonderful English, and she introduced me to each of the different masters and everything, which was amazingly wonderful. But she also told me about how, in fact, just to bridge over to your question here, she told me this very wonderful fact about how in wintertime, back in the day, a big loom would always be packed away during summer, and then when winter came, they would pull it out and build it up because it would take up a lot of space, of course. So in the summer you want it away, but then in the winter you would sit there and you would weave all winter because there wasn't so much else to do. And in this kind of wintry environment, I can see how that is kind of a bit, in a way, what we have been sort of doing a bit, kind of retracting a bit and doing some more sort of domestic things, because
but it's typical for Latvia and for Baltics, I believe, that everybody are just packing inside their houses during autumn and winter. So, and also actually being in a countryside, it's like, I think, more of this aspect. So maybe Rasmus, so we want to know, why did you go to that Liepājas museum? And what is your research project you're working on?
As I said, I think, my statement earlier about sort of there's a time before and a time after as well. Like I've been doing a lot of different things during the residency. I have described a specific project that I'm very happy to talk about, but it's almost like one of the many threads. Ooh, let's stay in the metaphor. One of the many threads I'm weaving into the little piece of fabric that is this residency. You know, that was from the museum I went to, where this very nice woman gave me a tour. And there is a very, very like proud and long tradition about weaving. Like, first of all, in our house. There is the weaving workshop, but then you can also see, when I went to this museum, I learned that each village has its own like traditional sort of pattern that they used to use in skirts, kind of like the tartan patterns in Scotland, where it's, to an expert, it's extremely recognizable what is from where. And I it's so sad that I will never be like a fully embodied weaver, because sadly I think
maybe you will be, you never know.
I think it takes like 30 years
Okay,
of expert sort of knowledge.
You're not so dedicated.
but what I did, what I was proposing when I went here, and what I'm also currently investigating, is sort of very simple tapestry loom, tapestry weaving, where you build a very simple frame loom, maybe like a lot of kids try to do in school. And using that to sort of express, to create some images. I've gotten to the point where I've finally built the loom, and then I've slowly been collecting the necessary tools.
And do you collaborate also with those weavers?
None of them speak English.
Okay, but you can communicate through working through material.
Yeah, yeah. I again, because of like COVID and stuff, I kind of had to work in my room, so I don't really see them much.
Okay.
I've sort of been leaning more on the encounter with like this deep winter that we're in, because almost the second I got here from Copenhagen the second time, a lot of snow came, and it started to become this sort of dichotomy between warmth and cold. And that actually it refers to like an Old Norse creation myth, which is maybe too
early,
too far out,
yeah,
you know.
Okay.
But the world was created by like sort of heat and ice meeting, and it just became a sort of point of inspiration for me to walk through those really cold forests and then go home and take a very hot bath, and feeling that those extremities, which like in the summer it's more of a constant, where you really in the winter you really feel those extremes a lot, and also, yeah, as we said, like you move the loom inside in winter, but you also all move inside, and everything is a little more chatty, and a lot of people, Christmas time is also, or winter time is also the time for exchanging stories and legends and all these things. So I guess in a way there's like a kind of nice link there.
Okay, so now you will dig into weaving process when you will return to Pāvilosta, as I understand.
Yeah, I kind of have already tiptoed around it a lot, but yeah, it's also I have already started back in Denmark a few small things, but I think it was also about trying to sort of. Trying to see what a tapestry maybe wants to be by itself. Oh God, that sounds like such an artist thing to say. But instead of me saying like I'm gonna make this, I was kind of trying to wait and see like what is happening here.
Yeah, be more into
itself.
The process. Yeah.
And then like this thing that this woman said at the museum about like. Winter is the time you use the loom. You don't sit in the depth of summer weaving thick woolen shirts. Yeah. You sit there when it's like when it's very cold, and you want to stay warm. You make like some warm clothes, you know. And it kind of made a lot of sense to me that it's something we've been struggling with.
It sounds very interesting. Thank you, Sabine. Maybe you can continue and talk a little bit about your project.
So yeah, in the library. I found a book, Stum Stum, by Latvian author Andra Neiburga, and it was my first time when I was reading it, and I think it's one of the best books I've ever read.
It is.
Yeah. It's absolutely amazing, and there's this one story, I think it's actually the longest one in the book, about the author. She created notes while living in her countryside house, and it's actually not so far from Pāvilosta, so it's like the same region, the same seaside breeze happening, and she was describing her feelings, her thoughts, what she can see, smell, hear. It was very interesting to read it. It was very interesting to compare it with my experience in Pāvilosta. And I started to create videos, 3D animations, and film some videos, and try to put together like my own story about what am I feeling and hearing and sensing during this season. And and the second way of thoughts and project going thing.
The second thread talking.
The second thread, exactly. It was, well, I was talking with the weavers. We started to discuss gardens and gardening itself. And I think it's a very interesting concept that people are just picking things they like and putting them in this very close environment. And I was asking them why they are doing it and what's the reasons. And one of them said that it's because she can create her own nature. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. And I started to think about that, and it led me to some research about gardens and plants and etc., etc. But so yeah, for me it has been more, well, I'm working with digital things. It's my practice, and so yeah, I occupied the computer in the library, and yeah, just I'm experimenting with videos, with 3D animations, with some glitch art. But yeah, because I have these different videos and animations, I just like put them together in the screen-recorded video. And also I put my own notes from my time in residency.
So Sabine, this like notepad, it's a part of the...
This notepad, it's my notes from my time at Pāvilosta.
Yeah, okay. It's like a diary.
In a way, yeah. I'm not like writing a diary.
Yeah,
I don't like it, but I like to take notes after each day, so yeah, I can reflect on that.
And what we see there?
Everything is filmed in Pāvilosta, mostly in the forest and by the sea and by the river or from the car windows.
And are you using texts from Andre Neiburga also as a reference point?
In a way, like a reference point for the videos and animations which I'm creating. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. There have actually been a lot of PhD works around this one book and this one author.
And I absolutely understand why. Yeah.
So, and you are developing it as a 3D project, yeah?
As a video/3D project.
Okay.
I'm in a way actually trying to combine them, plus keeping also the text part. So we'll see where it will lead me, but because at this moment it's like a collage from like almost 2 months spent in PAiR residency.
Okay. But it's actually work that is created there in Pāvilosta, and you don't have like a further plan where to exhibit it. It's not for exhibition.
Actually, I mean, I have a further plan in the spring, but we'll see if that will come true. Yeah, but this all has been created in Pāvilosta.
Okay. It's nice that also a library can be as a very important reference point, and the book
Definitely.
that you found in a library. Okay, Sila, let's turn to you. So, you work also as a composer and with music.
I haven't called myself a composer, but I guess yes.
Yeah, it's a big word, sorry.
No, it's nice. I like the sound of it. So I was actually thinking, like, stemming from what you've been like just talking about, of this collaboration, and actually with the weavers. So even though I haven't been able to speak to them, though I've like, you know, small kind of greetings in the morning when they come in, and I'm like, don't speak your language, sorry. But would really be like lovely. Then I was just thinking now that actually I have found a way to like communicate in another way or collaborate in another way.
Oh.
Because yeah, the exhibition that is coming up, I was invited also to do a performance on the opening.
In PAiR Residency?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the way, like what I've been working on for it is using microphones to attach them to the loom. And then every morning I like come down and I see that there is another piece of tapestry being like been woven like over the like previous day by the weavers. And so like I use this kind of as an instrument or experimental instrument. So every time like the texture and like it's a little bit different. So there is like a very like mediated through the tapestry kind of conversation, I guess, going on, and through haptics and very much like sensorial tactics and ways, which is also what my practice is mostly about. So these days I work with music. And
sorry, but the sound is changing, yes, as I understand.
Yeah,
every day.
I mean, also
when
like
they have woven more and more.
Also that, like in small ways, and it's also like it's a different input for me. Like what, like because of course I get like inspiration by what is like what my instrument looks like also.
Yeah.
And if it looks different, then I mean I do something else with it or create different sounds. I guess that's what I've been thinking about now.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting that you can't talk with them in a language, but you can talk with them in artistic language.
In a way, and also like I guess the tension of the strings is a bit different every morning. Maybe they have like, you know, rolled it a bit tighter one morning and like a bit more loose some other mornings. And so yeah, it's like always changes a little bit.
Okay, should we listen?
Yeah, this is not for this performance because this just came up, which is a really nice thing. But in general, I've been working, with how we relate to our, well, simply put, I've been making silly love songs, but love has everything to do with how we relate to each other, how we relate to the earth, how we relate to our localities, in which ways we are extracting or taking or giving. And so, yeah, we can listen to this one demo.
Yeah, love is connected to everything.
Late night in the morning light, drinking tea. Late night in the morning light, whispering trees. Late night, are you mine to keep? It scatters me. Dark shines softer than my sleep. My bounds you reach. So hold on, you gave. Hold on, you say. You say so hard.
Yeah. So
yeah, I was telling Priscilla that's somehow very Scandinavian as well.
Well, I started like making this particular demo and using like some field recordings already in Finland. So it's like, you know, it's also in transition, coming from the forest to the sea. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, actually, we are now having conversation with me about your projects you are developing, but this residency, and I believe it's not so often that we have also a curator. So is it the first time you work with a curator regarding residencies, and how do you see maybe this collaboration or this approach to residencies? Rasmus, do you like working with curator in residencies?
No. Again, I think curator, just like artist, just like residency, is a term that is defined by each individual who adorns it.
Of course. Yeah.
So the way that we have interacted with Joao, it has been through mostly conversations, because he hasn't physically been able to get to Pāvilosta.
Yes.
But yeah, it's been a nice sort of conversation partner. I've previously in other instances had sort of different experiences where oftentimes the curators are involved a lot beforehand, also in a selection process when it's not open call but it's by invitation.
But here I believe that Joao was also involved during selection process, just after the open call application.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but it was very nice. I mean, I didn't know him beforehand, and he didn't know me, and we got to chat, and we had a nice time with each other. So that's always a good thing.
I hope he helps you and helps to put your projects also together and helps to think about them and so on. So yeah, Sile, what do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, I had met Joao before, so I was like especially curious to work with him in a more professional setting. And it's been a nice conversation partner and some good leads, I guess, towards like, some references, some books and materials to read. But it's nice, like there was like this conversation, and I see that like, because I have a little bit of time at least, like over some weeks, then I can see it like kind of rolling out that like after a week or so, I think like, actually this kind of remark, I just remember it now and maybe can ask about it.
So maybe it's also good to have this curator in this remote residency, where you don't have so many interactions.
Yeah, I guess so. And I think like to have it as more like a continuous thing. So this like continuous discussion also like a bit before and later. I think this is like something that adds really to the residence experience. Yeah.
Okay, Sabine, your opinion?
Well, I absolutely agree with both of you. It's great to have that one more person who is ready to talk about your work and listen to you and give some opinions and give some reference you were mentioning. So, yeah, I think it was a valuable Zoom call.
And we've also been using each other in that capacity. But in a way, it's nice to have like an extra person added to the conversation who isn't in the house every day.
Yeah. But is like in the conversation with each of us.
Exactly.
Yeah. But he's not so much in.
Like a virtual roommate.
Like some sort of like a ghost somewhere.
Okay. So in today's conversation, if we wrap it up, we can conclude, yes, that every residency have its own advantages. So, and maybe each of you can say like an end statement. Yeah, what is an idealistic residency for you? Wow. 3 things that is important.
No, I wanted to say
I know
that
it's a super hard question.
Sure I can say it. I mean, I think it really depends on my mood and of what I want to do. But for me, I guess a computer with programs, space to think without any interruptions, and I mean, yeah, interesting people around. I think that's also very, very important. Yeah.
Rasmus?
Well, I'll take all 3 and add them all into one.
Okay.
I'll again reiterate and say a good residency knows that there's something before, that there is something during, and that there's something after, and understands that all of those things are equally important. And maybe one artist is going to have a lot of stuff happening before that they will finally just get to when they get to the residency, and they won't have time to do a whole extra new project or something. And some artists will get there and they will just work intensely for 2 months and then it will be over, and other people will like start a little few things here and there, and like as you said, maybe 5 years down the line it will be a real thing. So past, present and future.
Yeah, because residencies are mainly created for artists. So
Well, I will take 1, 2, 3 and past, present, future also. Well, I can't say really 3 things because it's really depends on like what I am. Like everyone is a different person at a different time. But I think I would like to like come to the name itself. I mean, a residency means a place where you reside, a place where you live. And I think this is like very important, or most important, to make it like, or be able to like come to a place where you are able to feel at home as like quickly as possible. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was a really great ending. Thank you, Sille. Thank you to you all. And of course, huge thanks to Nordic Council of Ministers office in Latvia, who hosted us and who mainly and most importantly supported us. And thank you to Vivi Foundation and the founders of PAiR Residency. Thank you for listening and have a nice evening.
Thanks, Lina, for moderating.
Thank you.
Nice.